Welcome to the Odyssey Sports Fantasy Football Show. I'm Chris Emma alongside my colleagues Jordan Cohn and Jesse Pantusco. Boys, it's week 17 of the season. It's championship weekend in fantasy football, and I got a tragic story to start us out. I had a 23-point lead going into the semifinal matchup. All I needed was the Cowboys to not light up Washington.
Oh, no.
They put up 24. I'm hurting today. But let's press on. Let's look ahead to the championship. If you're still going, congratulations. I will get us going with the waiver wire pickup, and I'm looking onto Jacksonville. Dari Ogunbowale will get your chances now moving forward. James Robinson, unfortunately, that Achilles injury mid-game. Ogunbowale took over. 17 carries, 57 yards, and a touchdown. Look for him to continue on as that lead back in Jacksonville and getting big-time opportunities. So that's my pickup. If you're looking for a waiver wire running back, if you need to fill a void, I think he's going to get you some production. Jordan, who's your waiver wire pickup this week?
I got another running back suggestion for you, and that's Jordan Howard of my Philadelphia Eagles. And you really want to be a part of this historic rushing offense in any way possible. And now that Miles Sanders has broken his hand, which may keep him out, it looks like Howard is in line to get a lot of that work. And again, this is a historic rushing attack. They only, quote unquote, only put up 130 yards in week 16 against the Giants, which ended their streak that was, 85 Bears-esque. But now they have a chance to build back on that with another good matchup in week 17 against Washington, and Howard would likely lead the charge if Sanders were to miss time. He did leave with a stinger, but he looks to be okay, and so Howard is the guy I'd go with. If he also doesn't seem to be trending in the right direction, then Boston Scott is the one who would then replace the two of them.
Yeah, Jordan Howard's done well with his opportunities this season. I like that pickup. Jesse, who are you looking to add this week?
Well, COVID and injuries have definitely taken their toll, and we're talking about 31-year-old Rex Burkhead as a potential waiver pickup. But that's what it's come to in Week 17, with novel-length injury reports and the Omicron variant turning fantasy football into a war of attrition. The Texans have quietly won their last two games, and Burkhead's emergence has been a big reason why. Sunday, the former Patriot balled all the way out against the Chargers, exploding for a career-high 149 yards and 2 touchdowns, while finishing as the week's overall RB3 in PPR scoring. You probably haven't noticed because, well, who's keeping tabs on the 4-11 Texans? But Burkhead has been a focal point of late, logging a combined 98 touches since Week 11, an average of 16.3 per game. We haven't seen much of Burkhead's backfield mate David Johnson recently, with the veteran missing time due to COVID and a quad injury that shelved him in Week 16. Even if Johnson is healthy enough to give it a go against the Niners in Week 17, Burkhead appears to have supplanted him as Houston's unquestioned workhorse, making him a worthy add wherever he's available.
All right, I like that. Let's move on to the stream team now, and I have your quarterback this week. It's not a great week to be streaming a quarterback, and if you're in the championship round, you probably are in trouble if you're streaming a quarterback, but you have to have somebody available, and I'm looking at Jared Goff. Fresh off the COVID list as of Monday, facing a Seahawks defense that's 31st in passing yards allowed this season. Not the same Seattle defense we've seen before, the Legion and Boom no more. And Jared Goff has done well moving the football for that Detroit offense, in particular with St. Brown. They've established quite a connection. I think Goff is going to continue on where he left off before going on that COVID list. So if you need a quarterback or you just want a good backup option, I'm looking to Jared Goff. Jordan, who's your stream team tight end this week?
Well, from the NFC North to the AFC North for the tight end position, I'm going to go with Bengals tight end CJ Uzomah. And in case you somehow missed what Joe Burrow did in Week 16, he had 525 yards and 4 touchdowns in a historic torching of the Ravens defense. All the wide receivers seemed to feast. Uzomah only had 5 catches for 36 yards, which was pretty modest. But again, for streaming tight ends, if you got a guy who's getting 7 targets, he's averaging 6 targets per week over the past 4. That's a pretty good deal for someone that you can just pick up for free. And he has had some really big games this year, some 2 touchdown performances, some top 3 tight end performances. And this is going to be a likely shootout for the Bengals against the Chiefs in Week 17. So the ball might be coming his way a good amount. And for a streaming option, you're probably really not going to find much of a higher ceiling out there. And so that's why I really like Uzomah this time.
All right, Jesse, which defense are you streaming this week?
As you would attest, Chris, it's been an ugly season for the Bears, but Chicago finally got a win in Week 16, coming from behind to upset Seattle on the road. The Bears haven't strung together back-to-back wins since Weeks 4 and 5, but they'll have ample opportunity against the Giants, who have been outscored by a lopsided 112-46 margin over their current 4-game losing streak. The Bears don't force many turnovers. In fact, only the Ravens and Jaguars have fewer takeaways this season. but the Bears should have a chance to change that Sunday against a turnover-prone Giants offense responsible for 23 giveaways, including 16 interceptions. With Daniel Jones lost to a season-ending neck injury and Mike Glennon not moving the needle much, the Giants look broken, and I don't see them turning the corner Sunday against a swarming Bears pass rush that's registered 42 sacks already, fourth most in the NFL this season.
All right, let's finish out with our stealthy starts. You got to be smart this week. It's championship weekend for many of you. Let's play it smart, and I am looking at Rashaad Penny. 2 weeks after what seemed like his breakthrough performance, he did it again, and that Seattle loss to the Bears that you mentioned, 17 carries, 135 yards, and a touchdown kind of quietly. A big performance again for Rashaad Penny. He's still being started at under 50% of Yahoo leagues. I think it's real. I think what he's doing is finally breaking through. First round pick in 2018. Here he is, year 4 in Seattle and making a difference. So I would push in Penny to that starting lineup if I'm looking to win a championship this week. Jordan, who's your stealthy start this week?
Well, I'm looking back through our spreadsheet throughout all the weeks of this show, and I see Brandon Aiyuk as a suggested pickup in week 8, Brandon Aiyuk as a stealthy start in week 12, and so it feels pretty appropriate that to end we have Brandon Aiyuk yet again as another stealthy start recommendation. He has the Texans in week 17, which is a pretty good matchup, and he has 4 double-digit fantasy outings in his past 6 weeks. He's drawn at least 5 targets in all but one of those games, so it seems like the floor is really there now after that hard-to-stomach, just pitiful beginning of the season for Aiyuk that really disappointed a lot of fantasy owners that invested in him with a pretty high draft pick. He's also found the end zone 3 times in the past 5 games. He had a clutch game-tying touchdown this past week, which shows that, their trust in him has been reestablished. And so, I think that Aiyuk is a pretty safe bet at this point, and that's really what you're looking for. If you have 2 guys who you really can't decide between, I feel like the safer option in the championship instead of someone who could just completely bust is what you're going to want to go with.
All right, Jesse, finish us off. Who's your stealthy start for week 17?
Well, guys, I was at Gillette Stadium freezing my butt off with 70,000 other heartbroken Patriots fans when Devin Singletary cruised to an RB11 finish on the strength of 18.8 PPR points, making the most of his 17 touches with 78 yards and a goal line TD. Buffalo's backfield has been hard to decipher for fantasy purposes, with Singletary ceding carries to Zach Moss, Matt Breida, and even quarterback Josh Allen this season. But after months of using the hot hand approach, the last few games have provided much-needed clarity, with Singletary emerging as the Bills' clear alpha, wrestling the backfield reins away from Moss and Breida with 263 yards from scrimmage on 50 combined touches since Week 14. As 13-point home favorites against a Falcons defense allowing the 9th most fantasy points per game to opposing running backs, Singletary should be primed for a monster Week 17.
All right, that's it. It's championship weekend. It is our last Odyssey Sports Fantasy Football Show. Jesse, Jordan, it's been a pleasure. I'm Chris Emma. One more time, signing off.